Okay, so I'll just quickly get a material onto this floor that's a little bit better. And you'd be surprised how thin these floors can be on these upper levels. A 120 slab might do it. And because this is also material, bit of change. And I'm just going to use one of the starting concrete cast in situ. Okay, so because I've got my joists still at the previous height and I don't want to go and adjust those, I'm going to put a height offset from level in for this floor and make it 100 mil above, so that in section we've still got that. And really we could just treat it as though it's a timber floor with concrete lining, or we can take those joists out. But for memory there is still a timber structure above that level, so I'll leave them in for now. And then the beams, so again in the 3D view there, now it's much cleaner. I can see the columns if I look in through the windows, but at this stage it's probably a good idea to have a view where I can see into the building a little bit better. So I'm going to duplicate this view and then rename it, and I'm just going to call it 3D cutaway. And so these walls here I could just hide, or don't forget about section boxes. So using section box, if you haven't looked at that for a while, you can always cut away into your building, don't forget, because that's really, really useful. But again, just reminding about the other options. So hiding, in this case, probably work just as well. And then just to think about a couple of other options that you have. I might want to see through some of these floors, or later on maybe the joists as well. So you've also got the option of overriding any object's graphics. If you select it, right click, and then override graphics in view, I'll go to by element. And I'm just going to change the surface transparency there. Just going to increase that a little bit to make them see through. And so just remember, there's always a lot of graphics options you can customize in Revit, and that's a really useful one. So you can just select anything, right click, and then override graphics in view. By element usually is the easiest. And then here I've just changed the surface transparency with the slider. It's really good for presentation graphics as well, that one. And then also, well, another thing to show you, the joists there are getting in the way. So the joists, the floorboards, are going to be a bit hard to look at. So I'm again going to select those 3 floors. And then again, override graphics in view, by element, and I'll go to surface pattern and just turn it off. So the surface pattern was the floorboards. So now that's invisible. So much easier to look at now, and then I can see pretty clearly the columns are all doing what I want them to. Going back into the well, I'm actually going to go to the ground floor with image to draw my beams, because I want to trace them over this. So then just using the beam tool, you've got a universal beam loaded or preloaded hopefully, but if you don't, you can always go to load family, and then in structural framing you'll find the steel folder where you have UBs. So really any of the UB families would work here, so not a double C though. Yep. And then there are lots of very similar steel profiles, but well, an RSJ is basically the same thing, but that's, well, it's obviously for the joist. Did I go into columns? Sorry.
Is that actually,
that's right.
is it a rigid support joint? What's RSJ?
Sorry?
Rigid support joint? What is an RSJ?
Rolled steel joist.
Rolled.
Yeah. UB, just any of the UB profiles. So here we are, we've got the UB, there's lots of UBs here, but these here, UB Universal Beam, Universal Beams AS, which is the Australian standard one, any of those will be fine. Okay, so I'll just open that. It was already loaded anyway, and it doesn't matter which size you choose initially. So we've got, well, these are far too deep. Try and get something close. So the 250s would be about the size here, so 250 by 150 roughly. So 254 by 146, something like that. And it's telling me that it's already there. So I'm just going to overwrite the existing version. And looking in the list there, you can see it had the previous size. All I've added now is the size that I chose. But you could always just go into edit type and change the size yourself. Got to sometimes use a bit of trial and error to work out which numbers relate to the part you want to change, but generally the dimensions here, under dimensions, breadth by height is, I think, what those letters stand for, but again, structures is a different world, so you just have to use a judgment there. And like I was saying, roughly 250 by 150. And so then to draw them, you can change the height before you draw them. You've got these options in properties to do that. But it's often easier to change the height after making them. So I'm just going to click, well, I don't have a wall there, unfortunately. I should put that wall in before doing that one. So I'll do the next one. So just clicking on the, well, I'll start on the column with this one. And on the midpoint of the column is a good place to draw them when you want to connect to a column. And then just tracing over the dashed line there. I know it might seem strange, but I'm pretty sure this beam does go over the window. So I'm just going to place it there, touching the wall, essentially. And it's telling us the object isn't visible in floor plan. Okay, so I'm going to go into my view range again and adjust that to make it show me what I want. So the view depth there is not deep enough, so I'm going to make that minus 500, and the bottom as well, minus 500. So it's a bit like the top in a ceiling plan. In a regular plan, floor plan, the view depth has to be at least as low as the bottom. Okay, so now I can see my beam, and just like the other view, if I go to Define, then I'll see all of the geometry. And then I can just keep going, drawing beams, already loaded, so I can just keep clicking. So again, midpoint's a good way of connecting to columns. And here, you can connect to the next column and then do another one from there over to the wall. Don't worry if you go inside the wall. So I'll just do the one down here. So again, starting on the column. And like I was saying, I should have the walls there before I do that beam. So I'm just going to quickly draw that in. Oh, that's close enough. Okay, so now I can draw my beam and snap it onto that wall. But again, I'm going to start on the column. So there, yep, I'm going to go to the corner of the wall, that's fine. And again, just tracing, trying to get the midpoints of those columns. There you go. Okay, so it's got some issues with the way it's joined this one, so I'm just going to try and fix that. But no, that's the way it wants to do it. So let's see, there we go, that has fixed it. No. So sometimes you'd have to drag them around a bit and experiment to get the joint that you want, because what you think should be there is often, from an engineering point of view, not the case. So so here you can always try edit beam column join as well, and some of the options there might work for you. Those arrows there let you flick between the different options, and so that's actually pretty good. And then all those beams need to then come up to the level above. So I've selected them all just with control, but it would have been easier just to select one of them and right click, select all instances in the entire project. And then in the section view, I've got to go to pick new. So I'm trying to change the level, but notice it's greyed out in the columns. Again, engineers are strange, they work very differently to us, so it's again because of the way they work that things are different. So instead of just changing the level, you have to select the columns, so select the beams first, then go to pick new, and then choose a level from there. And, oh sorry, that is going to make you choose a, no sorry, I'll show you a different way, so that's too fiddly. So back in my plan, so I'll just select those again. So use edit work plane instead. So again, they're still selected. I know it's hard to see in this section view, but they are still selected. I can see over here. Okay, so there's 8 columns selected, 8 beams selected. And so if you go to edit work plane, then you should be able to choose the level 1 here. And there we go. So that's put the beams now up to the level I want them to be on, but they're still above the joists, or too high for the joists. So we need to have them under the joists, and moving them with the arrows or the move tool won't work. So you need to put an offset in properties. You've got start level and end level offset, and so here it's 200 we did for the joist, or 250? 200. So 220 anyway. I'll try it. Minus 220 for the start level offset, and for the end level offset as well. I think these joists are quite deep, so that might not be enough. No, that is right. Okay, so 200 for the joist, 20 mil for the floor, and that gets them underneath. Then to copy them onto the other levels, it's probably best to go to the ceiling plan, level 1 ceiling plan. Oh, sorry, ground floor ceiling plan for this one, sorry. And in fine, I can't see them, why not? Let's have a look. Okay, so they're showing in my section, but in my ground floor ceiling plan, I can't see them. So this is something that might happen to you quite often with other things, and there can be a range of causes, but often it's the visibility, the initial visibility setting. So if I go to Edit, Visibility Graphics, looking down through the list there, you can see structural framing's actually turned off by default in ceiling plans. Okay, so if I turn that back on, now I can see it. So just got to watch out for those things. A lot of those, all the views have customized view settings that you need to be aware of. And so then with the, well, I can see quite clearly the beams there. And then again, I can go select all instances in the entire project this time, copy to clipboard, and now paste a line to selected levels. It's on level 1, so I can go to level 2 and the roof. And then having a look at that, you can see again it's got that issue before where it's having trouble picking up the heights properly. So I'll try paste again, but choosing the next levels down, so level 1 and 2. Yep, so that's better. And in the section I can check that. Yeah, okay, so you can see the beams there have gone in a bit too high, and these are as well. But that's okay because we know the offset values, and I can simply just go, well, in fact I could select all my beams in the whole project, just selecting one again using the right click method to get everything in the whole project, and then just change all of them globally to minus 220. There we go. So then having a look back in my 3D view now, you can see pretty clearly that structure's all established. We'll have to work around that for the stairs, but that's still going to get a lot of the detail that you need for that interior. And well, I'll give you some time to do that.